Hello, welcome to another episode of the Mindful Introvert podcast. This podcast helps you to get inspiration to manifest a life in alignment with your true, confident, and intuitive being. I'm Jo from mindfulintrovert.com, an inner peace and abundance coach, and my purpose here is really to help you slow down, look inwards, and create a more peaceful life by learning to trust your intuition and exploring your spirituality at a soul level. Ready to be empowered? Let's get on with the episode. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Mindful Introvert podcast. Today, I am joined by Deion Pierre Sr. He is an emotional thought leader. Over the years, he has coached not only athletes, but business partners, family, and friends through life and all that comes with it. He considers himself a serial entrepreneur. In this season, he is helping businesses expand with their marketing with his agency, InnerG Media. An author and musician, Deion plans on writing more books and expanding this voice more throughout the world so that the everyday introvert like me and you never have to feel alone in this world.
You are in control of your destiny. You are in control of your life, and the love that you give yourself will never come back void. The love that you give yourself will never come back void. So affirm yourself, believe in yourself, feel it in yourself, and trust in the universe that all things shall be right for you.
Hey there, amazing listeners. Ever feel like life's treadmill is on max speed, leaving you burnt out and exhausted? Well, hold on because I've got something incredible for you. Healing from Burnout, your guide to renewed energy and well being. Picture this: a life filled with boundless energy, a balanced spirit, and a renewed sense of purpose. This ebook is your guide to unlocking proven strategies, mindfulness secrets, and expert insights to conquer burnouts. Ready to transform your life? Healing from burnout is your key. Visit the website and grab your copy now because your journey to healing starts today. Don't wait. Click the link in the show notes. Healing from Burnout, your guide to a brighter, energized tomorrow. And now back to our regularly scheduled programming. Stay awesome. Hello, welcome to another episode of the Mindful Introvert podcast. Today I have with me Deion Pierre Sr. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm really happy that you're here and share your wisdom with everyone. So thank you.
Thank you, Joe, for having me. I really appreciate the time that we're taking out to be able to, speak to your audience and, give them whatever wisdom that we do have.
Yes, yes. So would you like to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Of course. So I'm Deion Pierre Sr., also known as Coach D. I consider myself an emotional thought leader. I'm big on energy, self-love, and just, overcoming those trials and tribulations it takes to, become a powerful being, right? A true divine being in the world. I'm also an author. I write music and as such as well. I like being a creator. I like to create. I think that's our biggest power in the world. And what we create allows us to, showcase who we truly are. So, creating is one of my top things. I like creating for others, social media marketing, just being able to help people create, show that creativity. I think that's my biggest thing, but also being an emotional thought leader, understanding, how those things intertwine in us being able to be the creators we are.
Yes.
Hmm.
And how did you start this?
Ooh, that's a great question. Honestly, it started, I would say, I think it started, you know, if I didn't go surface level, it started when I was a kid, right? It started when I was a child and I was always inquisitive. I grew up in more of a religious background, not necessarily my home, but my aunties and the people I were around were more religious. So I always asked questions like, where's God? Where's heaven? Where's this? You know what I mean? I can remember all the way back to like 7 and 8 asking these types of questions, but I wasn't conscious of any of it. You know what I mean? I went through life, regular teenage boy getting into trouble, doing things that I probably shouldn't have, was still blessed enough to play sports. So went to college and after going to college and playing football, American football in college, I was trying out for the draft. I didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think what happened was what I like to consider was a big catalyst in my life, right? I was moving on blind faith for so long, I didn't know what conscious faith was. And it wasn't until I didn't make the NFL, which was my dream, I hit like a big what I call post draft depression.
Okay.
So my life felt like it spiraled. I went from being all the way at the top to feeling like I was always I feeling like I was all the way at the bottom. And
Yeah.
I say feeling because I wasn't, right? But I felt that way and I thought that way. So my life could only show me what I was feeling and thinking.
Mm.
And once I became more and more conscious of what was going on, I realized, okay, I've been feeling like this for so strongly that this had to play out this way. And it took me, understanding, wanting to be more successful than, what I like to call the average person. I didn't want the average, 9 to 5 mundane lifestyle, to truth be told. I had an NFL dream. I had a dream to be an NFL football player. So when that doesn't happen, I really felt strongly about it, and I went into what I like to call hermit mode.
Mm-hmm.
I went to studying, learning new things. Things just started to come into my reality. It was like Joe Dispenza popped up, Abraham Hicks popped up, Greg Braden, so many different people. Then it became like 19 Keys. It's a couple people that really played a part. Books started to pop up. I started to get more into books. I probably read one self-help health book my whole life up until 22,
Wow.
right? And from 22 to now where I am 28, I probably read over 20. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And I mean that's to me that's still not a lot. I can read a lot more. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good amount, but it's a good amount from where I was. However, where I'm going, there's a infinite world of books and possibilities, and it just took me to actually spiral, or what I felt like was spiral out of control,
Mm-hmm.
to understand like, okay, it's all about your emotions, it's all about your thoughts. When you combine them together, things start to move in a direction for you.
Yeah.
Because that's how I got to where I was. Now, how do I use this to get to where I'm going?
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love when you said that you felt like you were at the rock bottom, but you weren't, because
Mm-hmm.
that's not your identity. So I really appreciate you making that a key point. So, how does this, what would you say that manifestation and self love and acceptance have to do with each other?
Ooh. All right, let's unpack that. Right. I want to start with self-love. I think, and I'm wearing a shirt that says heavy on the self-love. Yeah,
That's
it kind of
awesome.
blurred out, but yeah, it's heavy on the self-love. So in my book, I wrote a book called Journey to Becoming, and I think we're always manifesting our life, right? In every waking moment, we're manifesting our life, and I think it starts off with the love that we give ourselves, or the lack thereof, right? Because what happens is what we begin to, you know, love on or not love, like I like to say, what we cherish in our minds becomes what shows in our reality. So if we're not loving ourselves and we are continuing to speak on things that we do not like, or talk about ourselves in ways we do not like. Like, I'm also a fitness trainer, right? So if I have a client and they're always saying how they're out of shape, they're always saying they don't like this, they feel like they're fat, they feel like this. If you say that, then that's all you're going to see. You're not going to really see the progression. And I think that's so big when it comes to manifesting, because when you do that, when you don't give yourself that love, what manifests outside of you is the lack of love as well. However, on the flip side, if you give that self love, you speak positivity in yourself, the universe will start to show you things that you didn't even know were there, that
Mhm.
never were not there. You know what I mean? They were
Yeah.
always there. You would just not tune to that frequency. So
Yeah.
if we aren't tuned to the frequency of love, we can't see things that we love. But
Mm-hmm.
once we continue to love ourselves, so I'm no longer very religious. I'm very spiritual. I'm very open to the world of possibilities when it comes to the divineness of the world, right? I think our universe is a vast majority of everything. So, however, in Romans, in the Bible, Paul says, love thyself as thy neighbor, right? Or love thy neighbor as thyself. Sorry. Love thy neighbor as thyself. And I think we forget a lot of the as thyself. And I think that's the main part because how can I love my neighbor if I'm not giving love to myself? A lot of people that I speak to misconstrue that and think that they have to give their neighbor love to love themselves. And it's not saying that. You have to love yourself so you can have the love, the capacity to love for your neighbor.
Yeah.
And once we move in that light, I think the universe shows us what we just put out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a true believer in that. It almost feels like a knowing now. You know what I mean? From my growing, just understanding more and more, what I put out is going to come back. It's a boomerang,
Yeah.
and when I put out the love will come back, and it'll just manifest itself. And we can't always tell how it'll manifest. And I think that's one of the biggest things, right? The control aspect of wondering how.
Yeah.
However, it's once you put it together, it becomes beautiful. We just have to see it. And that comes with how we love ourselves first.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I really appreciate you making that reference with the Bible because we do have people that are religious and that always benefit from that. And I would also say that is that focus that you were mentioning, the focus of what you want. Sometimes we focus on what we do not want, and I think that is powerful. As not focusing itself is not the thing that is powerful, but understanding what we do not want, so that then we can shift our focus to what we do want. I think
Mm-hmm.
that is impactful. So, what are some of the tips that you can give people that maybe are lacking hope or lacking that vision of what they really want, or they're feeling like they're rock bottom and they want to change?
I would say start off with affirmations.
Mm,
I think that's so big. I think we don't affirm ourselves enough. Um, I talked to a couple people, family, friends, and people that I've coached, people that I've helped out. And one of my biggest things is, what do you talk to yourself in the mirror, or do you just pick out the things you don't like when you're looking in the mirror?
mm-hmm,
And I think it's important to, even when you see things you don't like, just speak on what you love about yourself. Tell yourself you love yourself. Look
mm,
in the mirror and say beautiful things to yourself. Say amazing things. Make yourself feel sexy. Make yourself feel good. You know what I mean? And start with that over and over again. And at first, it might be weird. It might
mm,
be weird, and it's okay because in order for us to live a different type of lifestyle, we have to do different things. In order for us to receive different, we have to do different. We can't, I think they say doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is called insanity.
mm-hmm,
So, in order to change that result, we must do something different. I I would say one of the biggest affirmations I can say for anybody right now in my life, I'm using it is I am where I'm supposed to be.
mm,
And when you put that out there, I think it relinquishes all control and puts so much trust into the universe because you understand that if you've been through anything in life, you've gotten through it at some point. And because you've gotten through it, you understand that in the now, that moment that you got through is a lesson for you to move forward. So you were supposed to be there. And I think you can agree. I was just listening to one of your own podcasts
mm,
and you were saying, how, you have sometimes it's the fear, the one that you just, I think, published and you get
mm,
nervous. And I think we all do. And I think it's okay to. And it's where, what we say to that power. I was speaking to my son just yesterday, right? He's about 6 years old and I was talking to him and just doing my best to be able to get him to understand how we manifest things without, saying things like manifest. So it's like, what is
Mhm.
that? It's making it to where kindergarten can understand. And we talked about giving words power. He loves superheroes, right? So I'm talking to him and I'm like, okay, if you talk about, being scared all the time, what are you doing? He's
Mhm.
saying, I'm giving scared power. And I
Mhm.
said, if you talk about giving confidence all the time, what are you doing? I'm getting confidence power. You know what I mean? So it's just understanding what we speak on a lot of times and what we affirm on ourselves begin to become something that we think about. And once we think about it, we feel it. And once we feel it, that's when it manifests. So
Mm.
if we can change the direction of how we're speaking, it'll change what we're thinking, which will change how we're feeling, which will change what we're manifesting.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it as if it's easy. It's a progression. My whole book is about the journey to becoming. It's not a final destination. It's a marathon. And
Mhm.
when we understand that, we understand, okay, where I am today, there's a chance I won't be tomorrow because we are never. So it's like I am where I'm supposed to be. Where I am now, gives me the confidence to go forward.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? How
Yeah.
would, if you don't mind, how would you say, for you when you're going through a rut? I like to ask
Mm.
you, how do you get out of it?
I say to myself, this shall pass. It will get better, and I am learning. So I remember when I had a very bad breakup of like a 7-year relationship. It felt like a
Mm,
divorce, and I was just feeling miserable. But I knew that this was that point in time, and that it will get better, and I will come out stronger. And I did, but it takes a lot of discipline to say to yourself, this is not it, there's more to life, and to build that hope that it will get better, and you will do whatever it takes to have it get better, at the same time allowing things to be processed through you. So accepting
mm-hmm.
whatever comes and saying, okay, maybe I am experiencing this anxiety, I am experiencing whatever it might be in my life, but I can go through this. I'm strong. So that's what I say to myself. This shall
That was,
pass. I'm strong.
yeah, that was one of my biggest things. I think younger learning about spirituality, being able to accept that in that moment I may have taken a lesson. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? It was one of the hardest things to understand how to work with my pride and not be prideful
Mm.
because you don't want to feel like, you know, I have to accept this, but I realized like you said, there's power in accepting
Yeah.
where you are, no matter where you are. And
Yeah.
I think that's important. I think that's important.
Yeah. Definitely. And I think that because as well, when you are not acknowledging how you're experiencing, um it becomes stronger, those negative feelings become stronger, and it comes back to haunt you and to
Mm-hmm.
make your life way more difficult than it needs to be. So it's important to accept and release, process the emotions, and that will help the manifestation process. Because as you were saying, I love something that you said, that was you need to think, and then you need to feel, and then you manifest. And I love that mixing of concepts, because it is so true. You cannot manifest just by saying an affirmation. So you need to
Mm-hmm.
feel that affirmation, you need to believe in it, and then you carry on, and your manifestation will eventually come true one way or the other, especially when you surrender to the outcome and release any pressure attached to it. So how would you say, because I am quite I lack a little bit patience. I would say I'm impatient. No, I lack some patience sometimes. So sometimes I want manifestations to happen at a certain time, but obviously the universe doesn't work that way. So we need some patience. How would you say people can have patience when manifesting?
I think again it can go back to the affirmation.
Hmm.
I am where I'm supposed to be.
Oh yes, yes,
Because
it's
yeah,
powerful.
because And don't get me wrong, it became an affirmation because of life, my impatience. It
Mm.
became because I want goals, I want things. Like I said, 4 years ago, I thought I would be a millionaire playing football. You know what I mean? 4 years ago. So I've been living at a point I was chasing something instead of attracting things. And when you chase things, they run away, right? So I
That.
was chasing and chasing, and in that mode of chasing, things weren't happening. And I was very impatient. All it did was every time I would build to get back up, I would spiral back down because I'm not, although I'm doing some of the work, I'm so fresh to it. I'm so new to it that I'm not really understanding everything because I'm still growing in it. It's not a practice I've been doing for 10 years. I had a whole paradigm that was before, and now it has switched into this new state of mind, which is now like, okay, now I have to learn how to be somebody different than I was for the last 22 years, 23 years.
Yeah.
So with the impatience, I really believe understanding you are where you're supposed to be and enjoying the process. The process, one of my favorite books is The Power of Now. The Power
Mm-hmm.
of Now by Eckhart Tolle, right? I've read it multiple times just because it got me to understand, listen, you know where you want to go and what you know where you want to go, but you have to understand you are where you are.
Yeah.
And if you can be fully where you are, I think it comes back to what you were saying. When you let it go, that's when it begins to flow, right? And I heard one of your podcasts, you were just talking about that.
Mm.
And I think it's very important to understand that when we hold on to it, we're not giving trust to the universe, right?
Mm.
We want it to happen a certain way, which stops the endless possibilities of how it can happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I think telling ourselves this more and more helps us be patient. Doesn't mean we're perfect in patience. No, I don't believe in perfection. I believe in progression.
Yeah.
And the more I believe, the more I progress, and the more I take the steps to where I'm going, it's going to happen. It's inevitable. And I live with that belief system because if you don't, you're going to feel like it's never going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So you have to know it's going to happen, and it's all about the patience we give ourselves and the grace we give ourselves in that patience, and not really, excuse me, not really tracking, you know, how long it's taking to
Mm.
a certain degree. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because if I track how long it's taking, I'm saying that it's not happening on divine time.
Yeah.
And it's a continuous fight, though. It's a continuous fight. It's not like my goal is not to reach, millionaire status by the age of 28, and I'm sitting here at 28 and I'm not here, and I'm still like, okay, where is it? Where is it?
Mm.
Where is it? But in that, I'm still enjoying the process because I know no matter what, as long as I continue to work towards it, it's not going away. And one thing I believe, I don't remember who said this, but we're not going anywhere. You know what I
Mm.
mean? We're not going anywhere. So we have to stop rushing as if as soon as we get the goal, we're going to die or we're going to die without it. Like life is what we should be enjoying. We should be enjoying the process because when we're rushing, when we're impatient, we miss those little steps, and
Yeah.
missing those little steps. I don't want to go back and have to go take steps that I miss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't want to go back to retake steps because I'm missing it because I want the goal so bad, and then I get the goal and I have to lose it a little bit to gain it back over again because I was so impatient.
Mm. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. I really agree with everything you said. You said it so well because when you are focusing on the when and the how long, you are with that scarcity mindset because you haven't yet received it. So and with that, I always like this film. I don't know if you know this film called Click. I think it's with Adam Sandler, is it?
Adam Sandler. I haven't seen it
I
in so long.
love that film, honestly. And it's such an important life lesson. You're missing out if you're always focusing on the future, or for that matter, the past, because we have some people that are stuck in the past and what it was and how good it was or how bad it was. So if you're not in the present moment, you are missing out. So it's
Mhm.
it's really important to have that discipline to become present and do some mindfulness, ground yourself in the present moment. And that affirmation that you use, I think, is perfect. It gives a lot of grace and a lot of allowing to be present and to just be as you are. So I think that's very, very powerful. Thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah, no, I think it is. And I don't want it to be, don't use it as a crutch. You know what I
Mm,
mean? I think it can be used as a crutch as well.
mm,
However, these are for the mindful introverts that wants to become more. You know what I mean? These are for those that want to become more. It's not for those who are using it as an excuse for not becoming anything.
yeah,
Because you know what I mean? And I think
yeah.
that's very important because there's two sides to every scale. Law of polarity exists. So when you understand that you don't want someone to use this and not, go to their full potential and say, I am where I'm supposed to be. This
Mm,
is for those who are working, who are doing their best, who wants to become more in the world, who wants to get that power.
yeah.
And, that's where it's used. And thank you for allowing me to share that.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
I love
do.
that because it's not that the passive attitude. I
Mm-hmm.
think with manifestation, there are moments that you can be passive, or meaning that you can allow and take a step back and allow the universe to take charge. But manifestation can be and should be a very active process, right?
Of course. And it has to be because there's so much. I was listening to Rhonda Byrne,
Mm-hmm.
The Secret, and
Yeah.
I was listening to her, I believe, yesterday or the day before, and she made a video on YouTube, basically saying that if you stuck someone with no resistance in the room and asked them for their desire, it would come to them, right?
Yeah.
However, in the real world, we have resistance. So because we have resistance, we have to put action. If we were living with no resistance, then yeah, maybe we don't have to do anything. And if we wanted $1 million, it would come. If we wanted true love, it would come. However, when you live a life and and just someone in your position, right? Because I think love is a big thing as well because it's one of the greatest forms of emotion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's active. It's an active emotion. But I think even someone like yourself, like in your situation when you had the 7 years and the breakup, if you allow that to be the narrative of your life, it would be
Mm-hmm.
hard for you ever to obtain that again or even see it when it comes into your position if you
Mm-hmm.
weren't doing any work. If you just after it was all done, you just sat there and said, I want love, I want love, I want love, I want love. Didn't do work, never realized, how yourself got in that position, never saw the things that, if you don't see yourself and move based on where you were, the
Yeah.
world's going to keep changing and you're going to stay right there and it's going to be a repeating cycle.
Mm.
And that's only because there's resistance. I mean, there's an obvious resistance there. It was a breakup. For me, there was obvious resistance for not how I felt was I was no longer successful. I felt like I
Mm.
had all this success, college, full scholarship, football, NFL teams talking to me. I went to a CFL, then I'm not playing football anymore. So it felt like everything was just the rug was just pulled up from under me. However, if I just sat there and said, I'm going to be rich, I'm going to be rich, I'm going to be rich, and didn't move, no action, it wouldn't happen because of everything, all the resistance that was built from the lessons I went through.
Yeah.
So with the resistance, you have to it's just like working out. When you put resistance, you have to
Mm.
push the bar. You have to do the squats. I heard you talking about
Yeah.
working out, right? So you still have to push that bar even when you're scared because it's pushing the bar. That's how we get stronger. That's
Yeah.
how we are able to become better. And so yes, without action is definitely necessary. And I would like to ask you, so how did you think your energy was, and I'm pretty sure we spoke about how you empowered yourself to take on this new journey.
Mhm.
right? You're no longer working in the field you were working in because you decided to, finally say, I'm going to do this all in.
Yeah.
What mustered up that courage? What empowered you to say, okay, you know, I think this is my energy is saying it's time for me to do this and I must do
Mhm.
this.
It was a combination of a lot of things. So I think that as human beings, we're always avoiding pain and seeking pleasure at all times.
Mm-hmm.
So I was avoiding the pain, meaning that I was avoiding the misalignment that I felt at my job. And I was seeking the pleasure of doing what really fulfills me. And it was trial and error. So I for 3 years I had my business on the side of my day job. So it was understanding what I liked, what lit my soul, and was saying, you know what? And I had an inner knowing saying it's now or never, because I looked at my future, and that's how I make changes in life. That's how I came to this country. So I moved from Portugal to the UK because I said I'm looking at my future and I don't like it. So if I don't like it, I'm going to change it. So that's how I felt. And I just had an inner knowing saying, I am meant for more. I am meant to help people at a different level, at a creative level. And I was helping people, but at a very scientific and indirect level. So I need something that is ooh, more present with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, this is crazy. I felt crazy. Sometimes I still do. I felt very much out of my own identity. And I love what you were saying about your own story, because we create our identity. And when we change something that is so big as our profession or as we're doing, it shifts our perspective of identity as well. And that has been a very challenging transition, because it's letting go of what once was to allow new things to come. Even though it's something that excites me, I am very scared. So it's
Mm-hmm.
balancing everything. But to me, it was just intuition, was an inner knowing saying, this is what I want to do. It sounds crazy for society, for my parents, for myself, and the way that I was raised to not have a career that is safe and consistent and renowned. So it's a transition. It's a transition.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really allowing to be exactly as you are and knowing that you're in the right spot, because it's an investment in the future.
Mm-hmm. And how soon would you say that after having that inner knowing, because sometimes we all have those inner knowings, right? And
Yeah.
as long as we're listening to it, however, there's that like time between the time that we hear it and take action
Yeah.
on it. Would you say yours was simultaneous, like you heard it, or was it
No.
like a
No, it must have taken what, 7 years, because ever since I got into college with my degree, I never really was aligned with it. But I said, oh,
Mm,
this is the path that I need to take to be successful. Let's just carry on, carry on. Maybe it will get better. And that's exactly why I lasted 7 years in that relationship, because I thought might be getting better. But because it wasn't, I said, okay, so now I need to take charge and I need to shift my reality. But it took many, many years, many years. And I said, that's why I say that we sometimes want to avoid pain, because I was getting very stressed, very anxious, having panic attacks. And it was, yes, I was getting more money, but I was getting more stress. So it was not
yeah.
worth it.
Hmm.
So
Understood.
it took
Understood.
a long time, but it was
And
always there, and it intensified, that feeling, that inner knowing, that intuition. It got intensified to a degree that I said, this is it. I need
yeah,
to do this.
I feel like if you don't, the universe will put you like in a corner and ball you up until you make that big decision, and
Yeah.
you would just feel like everything is against you. And I think something you said is very important. And I don't know if this, and I hope this can help perspective for yourself, myself,
Mm.
and everybody listening.
Yeah.
But I always, I I stopped using the word challenge for opportunity.
Hmm.
because, and I say that because when you can, it's an opportunity, right? Every
Yeah.
challenge is an opportunity because we are able to grow from it. And, like, all right, so when I realized it was a challenge when I didn't make it to the NFL, I like literally changed it. This is an opportunity that I didn't make it because now I
Hmm.
have to learn something outside of myself. And I think what you did was so powerful because to move from Portugal to UK, to do that, to make those changes, I think those are the catalysts that shifts, like you said, that shifts
Yeah.
our whole perspective. And I thank you for even sharing how you saw your future. Because
Mm.
you listen to, I think we spoke about it, Joe Dispenza, and
Yeah,
he
yeah.
talks about being a visionary. So I think when we have that energy inside of us and that intuition, and we're a visionary and we can see the future and we don't see what we like, we
Hmm.
have to be able to be the creators we are and say, all right, it's time to create something new. It's
Yeah.
time to live change the trajectory of our lives.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I
like
really
that
appreciate that.
reframe of the challenging, like the word challenge to opportunity. So I started using a lot of words such as like problem. Oh, this is a problem. This is a struggle. I'm hustling. And so I shifted that to a challenge because to me, and I think it's all about the interpretation you have for certain words. So for some
Mhm.
people, challenging might be difficult, and it is right now. It can feel some resistance, but it's challenging. As in, to me, I use that word as it's exciting. It's
Mhm.
challenging because it's outside of my comfort zone. It's challenging because I need to shift paradigms, or I need to, So it's not, to me. It's not. I don't see it as a bad thing, and transitions, I don't see them as bad. I see them as challenging. I see them as
Understood.
exciting because I know that that transition is opening space for something better. So to me, that word is empowering because I like to take up on a challenge. I'm like, oh yeah, you don't believe I can do it? Now watch me.
Watch me.
So it to me is
No,
that
definitely.
approach. But I definitely appreciate that reframing to opportunity because opportunity creates choices,
Mhm.
right? And it is more, you take more of an active role in changing your life that way, because when it's a challenge or when it's a problem, sometimes you might think that, oh, this has been just given to you and you need to accept it or else. So when it's an opportunity, you choose. It's a choice, even if it's not really, but it's a more empowering energy
Yeah,
behind it, I feel like.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
So, how can people find out more about you, connect with you, buy your book? Tell us everything.
Yeah, so you can buy my book on Amazon first and foremost, The Road to Spiritual Success, and be on the lookout. Definitely in the works of making another one within the next year. Making some transitions myself before I finalize and release it.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me on Instagram at Coach D.44. 44 is my college football number, so it's a number I take with me everywhere.
Uh,
Yeah, but Coach D.44. And like I said, if anybody is interested in, you know, any type of coaching, I'm in the same coaching group as Joe.
yeah.
We've learned from very great people. Um, and also I got my social media marketing business up and running. Was able to help a couple clients already. So if you are anybody, any one of the mindful introverts who are looking for social media expansion for your business, and I haven't niched yet, so this is the opportune time for me
Mm-hmm.
to work with different groups because I haven't completely niched. I'm not doing transportation. I can say that is not really a good model for me. However, if you are someone who's interested in any of those services, definitely. I like to think of myself as a serial entrepreneur who specializes in coaching.
Amazing. I will leave everything in the show notes as well, all the links that people can go directly to drink from your wisdom. Thank you so much for joining me. It was a lovely conversation, a lot of big takeaways. So if you were able to just say maybe like one or two biggest takeaway that people can leave with this podcast, what would you say?
I would say you are in control of your destiny. You are in control of your life, and the love that you give yourself will never come back void. The love that you give yourself will never come back void. So affirm yourself, believe in yourself, feel it in yourself, and trust in the universe that all things shall be right for you. That's my biggest takeaway. And I would like to say thank you, Joe, of course, for having me, for allowing me to get on the show and speak to your audience and speak to the other mindful introverts out in the world. And thank everyone who tunes in and listens. And I hope that what this conversation that we had, you can take from both of us and use
Yeah.
it in your own life.
Definitely. Beautiful. All right. Thank you so much. And I'll see everyone the next episode. Bye.
Goodbye.
If you are fully committed to your growth, I invite you to book a free inner peace assessment call with me to create an action plan to manifest a life worth living with more inner peace and self love. For more inspiring content, follow me on Instagram at Coach Joanna Calado and subscribe to my YouTube channel at The Intuitive Being. I will leave everything in the show notes so that you do not miss a thing. I'll see you on the next episode, and until then, slow down and trust yourself.